Steam. Nocturne Prelude. I wonder what that is. Oh, I see. Oh, at least no one's heard of it, right? Oh, okay. What is this? I mean, okay, at least no one's heard of that game, right? Okay. Listen, I know these people probably didn't rip me off, but it feels bad when you have a good idea and then someone comes across a year later and they just do it a lot better than you ever could. Okay, seriously though, if you're interested in any of these projects, I'll link them in the description below. They look good. I'm just salty and a little more depressed than usual, and oh well. Hello there everybody, Dasher again with yet another devlog video for Disharmony after I'm most likely going to be semi-regular, as I'm probably not going to be able to upload it once a week, but maybe once every 2 weeks. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, so forget I ever said that. From now on, I'll just release the videos when I feel like they're ready. That good? Yeah? Cool. Also, I should probably mention I wasn't happy with the original recording, so I'm doing some of this in post, like months after I recorded the stuff you're hearing. So if some of the audio mixing sounds different, then that's why. Okay. Now, the reason I haven't uploaded a video in a while isn't because I've been lazy or whatever. I've actually been doing a lot of stuff for the game. This might be the longest video yet. But if you're watching this around the time of its recording, then you'll probably know that there's some stuff going on in the world. Some stuff that I apparently cannot mention on YouTube without getting restrictions for my video. So let's just pull a YongYea and call it the C virus.
Let's call it the C virus, alright? Let's just pretend we're talking about Resident Evil 6.
Yeah, the C virus is happening currently. And it's also possible that I've had it because I was sick for a whole month. It was not fun. I spent almost the entire time playing Minesweeper and a bit of Nier Automata. I finally finished Final Fantasy 15, and much like seemingly everyone else in the world, I've been playing a lot of Animal Crossing. I've also studied a lot because my graduation is coming up in less than a month. Oh boy, I'm not anxious at all. I watched a lot of Ghibli movies. I watched the entirety of the show Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beasts, which was really cool. But the sick part was not ideal. And sadly, I've had a lot of trouble sleeping as of late. I haven't gotten a second of sleep. I am so tired. Oh my god. Wait. See that? See that out there? Yeah, that's the sun rising. That's the sun rising. It's 6:45 in the morning. I'm drawing. I'm freaking drawing because I've got nothing else to do. I'm watching Final Fantasy VII Remake on YouTube. Yeah. I'm very tired. So while I was sick, I actually got a new chair, courtesy of my dad, which I'm very thankful for. Hooray! It's a lot better than the old office chair I had previously. And it just so happens that the place I originally got sick at was none other than Malta. Yeah, I travel a lot, I know. I went to Malta again, visited Tay and Chris and the kids, and, you know, yay, it was cool. We went to the cat park in Slima. That was neat. I like cats, if you didn't know. And then when I returned, well, I had a really bad fever and I had to stay in bed. So hooray! Oh, a bit more recently than that, just a few days ago as I'm recording this, was my birthday! Hooray, I'm 19 now. Woohoo! No need to congratulate me, it's fine. Some pretty beneficial things happened actually. I got a new hard drive, which I've been waiting for a long time. It's got 2 terabytes of storage as well, which is really good. Because the main reason I haven't been showing as much in like work in progress footage as I've wanted to is because well, I don't have a lot of storage on my PC, but now I do. So let's go. Well, I haven't connected the hard drive yet, but I'll have more storage in time. Now, since a lot of people didn't actually show up to congratulate me in person, which is totally understandable, I get it, they opted to send me gift cards and stuff, and I used one of those gift cards to order a new SD card for my camera, which has 128 gigabytes. The previous one had 32, and I kept running out of memory all the time. Well, not memory, but storage, whatever. So now you'll be seeing a lot more camera footage as well, woohoo! Okay, as for the actual development of the game, there have been a few minor changes here and there. I've changed a lot of dialogue, or well, just insignificant dialogue, but still, to make the flow a bit more natural, add a bit more personality, yeah, normal stuff. I added a roll of toilet paper to Tane Roxanne's house, which I suppose is very topical considering the ongoing pandemic. And, you know, just making small changes here and there. This kid on Sailor who keeps jumping up and down, his animation has been updated. There's now more build-up, there's a couple smear frames in there, it just looks a whole lot better than it did before. Continuing on where we left off in the last video, I've been working a lot on Erelon. Like, I've finished all of District 1, aside from a few buildings and NPCs and stuff missing here and there. But the layout is complete. Not only have I finished the layout of District 1, but I've also finished the music for it. I originally wrote a track that sounded pretty alright, but it was a little bit boring, so I opted to add some more instruments and to remix it a bit, and you'll be hearing that in the background throughout the course of the video, along with some other songs, of course. I added this train station, since, you know, the train moves around the entire city, and the stairs actually have depth, so you can go underneath the stairs and you can walk on the stairs, hooray! There's this big garage where the citizens park their cars and you can't enter, but it's there. Added a lot more houses and stuff, woohoo, lots of detail, yay, look at all the fancy stuff, yay! Now actually connecting all the rooms and stuff was a bit of a hassle. Keeping track of which number corresponded to which room was a little bit difficult, so I drew this map in Microsoft Paint, which yes, looks very, very professional, but it really did help. I also drew this graphic of Ellie sleeping at her desk, which is supposed to be shown when you first meet her, as I showed in the last video. I drew this with a mouse because I didn't have enough room on my desk to put my graphics tablet. But hey, it took like an hour longer than it probably would have otherwise, but hey, I still got it done, so hooray. But yeah, District 1 is pretty much done. I've also started working on, and almost finished working on, the first nightmare sequence past Sailor. In case you need a little bit of a refresher, the nightmare sequences are basically optional dungeons, and clearing them all will give you a better ending than you would otherwise. First one is Ash's Nightmare, and like I said, it's almost complete. There's definitely some interior stuff missing here and there, but it's mostly there. At least the layout is complete. I haven't finished the boss, and there's like a puzzle or two remaining, but aside from that, it's been going really well. I've drawn an all-new tile set for it, obviously. I've added all these little kids everywhere, but they're like shadows, and they're transparent, and they're a little bit creepy. I've also added a lot of post-processing effects to really make the area look interesting, because when you look at it in the editor, it's a little bit boring, it's a little bland, but when you actually run the game, there's this kind of neat sort of lighting effect where the edges of the screen are darker than the center, thanks to GameMaker's built-in blend modes. There's this chromatic aberration shader, which I mentioned in a previous video, and it really does add to the creepy vibe of the area. I like it. And I've also been hiding a lot of tiny little details here and there, such as if you look in the mirror in the room you begin in, your reflection is not Tay's reflection, but rather Ash's reflection to, well, reflect that you're in her nightmare. There's also this little magnificent guy, or maybe huge magnificent guy, who you may have seen in the Kickstarter trailer. While the internal file names and everything refer to him as the Catwall, his actual name is Percy, and I won't be showing all of his dialogue, but know that he is there. Much like with Erelon, I opted to make a map in Microsoft Paint for the layout, just to keep track of everything, and it once again looks exceptionally professional. Also, in Percy's room, I kind of messed up because there's supposed to be this depth system thingamajig where if you go towards the other side of the room, it looks like Tay is further away from the camera than if you're closer to the bottom side of the room. But somehow I messed it up and Tay flipped upside down and it looked very stupid, and here's a screenshot of that. It's one of those glitches that you kind of see online and you wonder, how the hell did the programmers manage to mess that up? And yeah, I guess I'm one of those programmers now. Hooray. Oh yeah, I should mention that this place has one of my favorite songs in the entire game. So yeah, give that a listen. Now, on a bit of a side note, I have been looking at a lot of other game engines. Don't worry, I'm not going to switch engines from GameMaker I'm fine with working on it for now, but I've been interested in looking at other engines regardless for perhaps future projects and such. I have been messing around a little bit with Unity, and I don't really know how it works. I edited this sample project that's meant to teach you how Unity works, I guess. And I've managed to import a couple models that I downloaded online. One of Lightning from Final Fantasy XIII and one of Princess Zelda from Breath of the Wild, except it's a fan-made model. And I haven't managed to do anything in Godot, but I know it's a very good engine. I've seen what it can do, and I am very interested in using it in the future. If any of you happen to follow me on Kickstarter, you may know that I pledged towards the campaign made by Heartbeast, whose videos used to help me back in the day when I learned GameMaker for the first time. And it is a 1-bit Godot course, and it's something that I've been wanting to look into for a while. I haven't had time to watch the videos yet, but there's a lot of material, and I'm very excited to check the engine out in the future. Sorry about that tangent. Back to Disharmony. Now, I've been reworking the inventory a lot. In a lot of ways, I've wanted to rework pretty much the entire UI for quite a while now, and I've finally gotten around to it. Now, it's worth noting that the inventory that is functional in the demo, I've said this before, but I'll say it again, is absolute garbage, because while yes, it is functional, it is also absolutely ludicrous, and no one would ever want to use it for their game, because it's all if-else statements. So, for example, do you have the milk? Yes. Then draw the milk. But do you also have the sandwich? Then you draw both the milk and the sandwich. Do you have the sandwich but not the milk? Draw only the sandwich. Do you have neither? Draw nothing. All of those are individual if-else statements, and I would have to do that for every single item type, which would be absolutely insane. Insert joke about Yandere dev here. Also, another slight tangent. I too have overused if statements in my code a lot in cases where it might have been better for me to use a switch statement. And if any of you know about Yandere dev and Yandere simulator, then you'll know that he constantly refuses to learn how to use switch statements because supposedly they're too difficult. It took me 10 minutes to not only learn how to use switch statements, but also make a sound test program using only one switch statement, one if statement, and a couple variables. I did this not necessarily because it was necessary, but mostly because I wanted to spite Yandere dev. I don't enjoy making fun of people, but my god, his extremely terrible level of coding has actually motivated me to work on Disharmony more than a lot of other things have recently. And I think that's, maybe that says something about his level of coding, I don't know. Go watch Kappa Kaiju's videos in Yandere Simulator. I've watched both of them so many times, and they are very amusing. So I basically decided to rethink the inventory from scratch. I made a quick mock-up of the logic. Basically, the player picks up an item, fills up an empty slot. When you're out of slots, then don't pick up the item anymore. If you use the item, then delete it from the inventory. It's nice to have a bit of a chart to help you keep track of exactly what you have to do. So I drew one in friggin' Medibang with a mouse again, hooray. After that, it was time to design the UI, or at least make a rough mock-up of it. I wasn't entirely sure of what I wanted the inventory to be like though, so I decided to compare it to some other RPGs. I knew I didn't want it to be like in Final Fantasy, where items are stackable and such, because even though yes, that is kind of handy, it would kind of be hell to program. Or maybe not, but in the way I'm thinking, just know that that's not gonna work. I've also always preferred inventory management, where each item is sort of its own thing. I don't know why, I just like it. And so I looked around, and I compared it to stuff like Mother 3 and Deltarune, and I looked at how they handled it, and I decided I kinda liked what both of them did, having different subscreens for different types of items and such, and of course the status screen, which I already had in the old version. Oh yeah, speaking of Mother 3, I actually have a physical copy of the game now. I've beaten the game several times before, but I've always wanted to play it on real, actual, physical hardware, and it felt very good to finally do so. It's just a cheap Chinese reproduction card, but it works extremely well. I had a great time. Now to make the inventory look a little bit nicer as well, I also decided to change the little cursor thing that selects each thing in the menu to something a bit more unique. So I decided to go with the emblem for the game, the little icon, you know? I made it follow the y-axis of a rotating path to make it smoothly bob up and down, which I think gives it a neat look. And that was very easy. Now what was less easy was making it appear at the damn spots in the menu that I wanted it to appear on. This took hours just because I was stupid and decided to go with some fancy programming stuff I wasn't familiar with, and it just didn't work, and it was horrible, and I hated it, and then I just went and did it the way I originally wanted to, and then it worked fine. Hooray. And finally, it actually looks kind of good. The actual system for picking up the items is far less ludicrous now, as I've been using a data structure list. Data structure? I'm not sure, I've heard both data and data, neither really sound right to me. But whatever. I've decided to use a data structure list to save all the items, and then display them when you select the item thing on the inventory. This is a lot more flexible than the previous one I had, but I'm not very familiar with data structures, so I'm still gonna have to figure some stuff out with this. For example, I don't know how to limit the inventory size, and I'm not sure exactly how to save this, because usually the way I save things is by just writing the variables to a text document and then loading them whenever you boot up the game again. But I don't think you can do that with a data structure list. Maybe you can. I don't know. I'll figure it out. I added some random items to a room in Ash's Nightmare, and yeah, it works exceptionally well. Aside from the fact that you can keep picking them up infinitely, and then it fills your inventory, and yeah, I really need to figure that stuff out. But hey, it's at least a lot less ludicrous than it was before. Now I also haven't added the actual item functionality yet from the old inventory system. You can't use these items in or outside of battles. So I definitely still have work to do, but the base, the concept, the idea, and everything is a lot better than it was before. The UI looks nicer. I'm happy for now. Yeah, that was a lot of stuff. Oh boy. I finally feel like I actually had some stuff to show in a devlog video, and I think that's a sign that it's a good thing that I actually waited to make this for as long as I did. And yes, with that, thank you all ever so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next video, and as always, have a good day. Cool. That was the dumbest bit. That was the dumbest bit, oh my god. Okay. I'm still salty about those other games.